Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we are making another response video. However, this time it will not drain a piece of my soul away, thank fuck. We are doing a response to Anomaly Inc in his video that he created on his second channel about Battlefront 2, and how he made a review on the fucking game, god damn it. And let me just say this, I actually do really like that video. However, he just has some stuff that personally got my Battlefront 2 fanboy what the fuck? My Battlefront 2 fanboy blood boiling. Is that how you say it? You know what, sure, let's just go with that. And yeah, so I do really actually like the video, and I actually do really love Anomaly Inc. He is one of my favorite YouTubers at the moment, and he has creates a lot of stuff that I do enjoy, such as his Revenge of the Prequels series, his Massacre of Rise of Skywalker, his Game of Thrones, and a lot of his rant videos are really entertaining to watch. However, he just said stuff that I disagree with. Now, we should probably get into this because I am pretty much almost all out of gameplay. That's why you're not seeing any Battlefront gameplay, and you most likely will not because I've used it up like all in my previous response videos.
Need to address several elephants in the room. Where this game still falls short and why DICE needs to continue to work on the game, because recently DICE brought out their latest patch and the longtime players of Battlefront 2 are not happy to say the least.
Oh yes, some of us have criticized that clusterfuck of a final update. Because while I do like the game, I would be lying to myself if I said that final update was good, because it really wasn't. It was extremely disappointing, and I know it's just a personal opinion, but goddamn.
So let's go through some of the issues. Let's start by talking about the missing maps. For whatever reason, Mustafar is still absent from EA's Battlefront, and I cannot for the life of me figure out why, since it's one of the most popular maps from the OG Battlefront. And the same goes for Utapau, a planet that comes from Revenge of the Sith that was featured in the OG Battlefront 2 game. Could you imagine how beautiful both those maps would look on the Frostbite engine? There's also those two temple maps, which look to be the remains of an ancient Jedi or Sith temple from the times of the Old Republic. I could be wrong about that, but that's what those map layouts reminded me of, and what I thought they were referring to. They also reminded me of the derelict ancient alien structures you might find on a Halo ring. Perhaps the reason they aren't in Battlefront 2017 is because Disney has decanonized the lore from which those maps came from. And I'll come back to this because Lucasfilm's insistence that the games tie in with the canon has certainly limited their recent games in terms of creativity.
Okay, I agree with this. I actually do kind of want stuff like Mustafar and Utapau, and this is somewhat valid. However, is the reason that you want this because it was in the original Battlefront game? Because if so, that is utter horse shit.
Also, I kind of liked Corellia from Solo. I was kind of hoping they would add that. Or Kijimi from Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, that snowy mountain town where they find Babu Frick. Or perhaps Arctu from The Last Jedi. Say what you want about the Disney films, but they had some pretty neat locations, not gonna lie. But let's...
Okay, asking for like Corellia and Kijimi, that's just dumb. First off, Age of Rebellion. The Rebellion has a shit, and I mean a shit load of maps. They have I'm pretty sure 5 or 6 maps. I'm pretty sure they definitely have at least 4, and I'm pretty sure they have at most 6 maps, which they don't need anymore, because Corellia would go into the OT era, which they do not need more. And I would agree that the sequel trilogy does need more, because from what I remember, I'm pretty sure they only have 3 maps, those being Asian Colossus, or whatever, or I guess as you refer to as Discount Yavin 4, Jakku, Great, and I'm pretty sure one other map that I'm forgetting.
Let's move on to the missing heroes. Where's Ki-Adi-Mundi? Where's Ayla Secura? Kit Fisto? Jango fucking Fett?
Alright, so the one I give the most applause to is your Jango Fett one, because I actually agree with Jango Fett. Because Jango Fett, they could add plenty of custom abilities to, and make him different from Boba Fett. Such as how, with plenty of the Jedi, a lot of them have force push, but a lot of them use force push in different ways. And I will get more into this later when I talk about Ayla Secura, Ki-Adi-Mundi, and Kit Fisto. However, they can definitely do something like that for Boba Fett, such as with the flamethrower. They can kind of change it up a little bit and have it work differently for Jango Fett. And then they can copy and paste the jetpack, and then a lot of the other stuff is self-explanatory. But I can definitely agree with this point. However, I do disagree with your stuff on Ki-Adi-Mundi, Kit Fisto, and Ayla Secura. The first reason I disagree with them is because they're just simply not significant enough in the overall Star Wars saga, and they don't really do anything. I mean, they barely do anything in the prequels. Like, yeah, they're pretty cool, but they don't necessarily have any lines or anything. I mean, Ayla Secura, the only thing I remember with her was her getting killed in Order 66, from the movies at least, which, yeah, that was a cool scene, but still, asking for her is stupid. Kit Fisto, he does some stuff in the Battle Geonosis, and he also gets his ass handed to him by Palpatine. And Ki-Adi-Mundi has probably the most dialogue scenes. However, again, these aren't significant enough. Also, they all appear in the Clone Wars, but their appearances in the Clone Wars still don't make them significant enough. And also, something else that makes having different heroes in Battlefront 2 special is the fact that all of them have their own unique abilities. And this is the point of choosing different heroes over others. And all we see them really use are basic Force abilities, like, Force Push and maybe Dash or something like that. And the thing is, 3 of these characters already have that, those being Yoda, Luke, and Obi-Wan. They all have dashes, and they all Force Push. However, they all work differently. Let's start off with their force pushes. Luke's Force Push is just a simple Force Push that's easy for knocking people off the edge. Obi-Wan's is when they kind of charge up, and the more they charge it up, the more damage and the more it'll send them back. Meanwhile, Yoda's has connecting with his blocking ability, where Yoda's blocking is meant to block blaster bolts. So the more things that Yoda blocks, it basically is able to charge up the Force Push to make it a lot stronger. And then in terms of their dashes, Luke's is again a simple dash that does a lot of damage. Yoda's is meant for going a lot quicker through enemies, and Obi-Wan's is kind of meant for blocking meanwhile hitting enemies on his way through. My point is that basically, a lot of these characters do have the same Force abilities and stuff, but they're all presented in different ways. However, the way that we see all these characters use their abilities are the most basic way with Luke, and there's no way that they could really alter them, except maybe with the dash. However, there's nothing that they could really change, because again, it's used the same effect that maybe Obi-Wan would have used it. I know this segment was kind of weird, but I kind of had to mention it for the abilities, which will come up a little more later.
All of those would be an excellent addition to Star Wars Battlefront 2 EA. As for the Rebellion, why not bring in Cal Kestis from Jedi Fallen Order, since that game falls into the Disney canon? Also, in addition to that, why not bring in Darth Vader's Inquisitors, the second and ninth sister? Hell, you are promoting Jedi Fallen Order in the main menu, DICE. Why not add a character from that game and insert it into Battlefront 2017?
I actually do agree with this, as it could basically, as Cal will be able to have a bunch of unique abilities, and the second sister could have a few unique abilities, as well as when you're fighting the second sister, she does a lot of unique things, especially when you fight her for the last time. And Cal, well, you have access to a lot of abilities for him, such as Force Slow, and then you have like BD1, who could use him as like a healing system. And I do agree with that. And so obviously, if they were gonna have have an event every time every time a new Star Wars product would come out, then I would say for like the Mandalorian, they could add the main Mandalorian and Moff Gideon. And for Star Wars The Clone Wars, they could add like Ahsoka Tano and Ahsoka Adventures, which I'm pretty sure everyone wants in the game.
And I haven't even mentioned Star Wars Clone Wars or the fucking Rebel series yet. Yes, you have General Kenobi and General Skywalker character skins, and they're awesome to look at, really. They look great. But what about all the characters and maps from those eras? Ahsoka Tano would be the most obvious inclusion, and not to mention all the worlds and potential maps those eras have to offer. I'm sure including many of those would please so many fans. I'm yet to watch the Clone Wars or Rebel series, so seeing those characters and set pieces included into Battlefront would get me hyped as hell to watch them, more so than I already am.
I agree. I really do agree. Obviously, I would love to have Ahsoka Tano, or maybe because Ahsoka is able to do a lot of unique stuff in the Clone Wars. Most notably with dual lightsabers, which could allow for something really awesome. And I actually agree. I would obviously love to have Ahsoka. A couple characters from Rebels would be cool, like Kanan would be awesome. And I really do agree with all of that, and even the maps. However, 2 things. First off, this all stems down to the fact of one issue. You're saying that they could have added more characters, more locations and stuff, so you're saying a lot, but it's really all for one criticism, which granted, that's very common to happen, and I'm just saying. But also another thing, I know that you made a video about this, but I don't understand why you haven't seen Clone Wars. I still don't. Watch it. I love how a 13-year-old kid is telling, a 20 or so year old man to watch a fucking kids show. Wow.
Now that we've discussed what's missing from the game and that there's much to be desired, let's discuss the core issues that persist with the game. Heroes combat is fun as hell. The gameplay, especially with lightsabers, is still a step down from the OG Battlefront 2 games, which was much more smooth and flowy, but the abilities make up for this by being extremely creative and fun to use. However, playing as heroes, especially in large-scale warfare like Supremacy and Galactic Assault, is an utter nightmare. This is more so an issue with Supremacy since the hero selection is more restrictive, because Supremacy wants to feel as accurate to the canon of the three mainline Star Wars eras as possible. Meaning that the heroes you can use are only specific to that era. For example, you won't find General Grievous in a map of Supremacy on Takodana, because that's a map from The Force Awakens and post Return of the Jedi.
I'm so confused. What is your point? I totally did not just put in this little clip here. That way I can break up this whole thing about talking. That way it's not just one long-ass clip. However, I wanted to include it. That way we had the full context.
Now, this limits the player's options and also their opportunities to use heroes. Meaning if they've collected battle points, they likely won't be able to use the hero they want because it's already in play, or the hero limit on the battlefield has been reached. I understand maintaining balance is important, but honestly I think DICE has this backwards. Galactic Assault isn't tied to canon, so there's more hero options, which is fine, because you can use just about every available hero depending on which team you are playing, but Galactic Assault is far more restrictive on the maps at any given time because, again, it's a version of Rush from Battlefield, but Supremacy has no map restrictions. There's more room to spread out and utilize the maps, instead of keeping things condensed. So if anything, Supremacy should have the higher hero limit in both the available selection and the active number on the battlefield, and perhaps make Galactic Assault canon-based instead, since a lot of these battle scenarios are replicated from the movies. For example, the Siege of Theed on Naboo, and the Walker Assault in the Battle of Hoth. These are canon battles, so I honestly think Galactic Assault would work better using the structure and restrictions that DICE has made for Supremacy.
Yes, it is. Yes, Galactic Assault does recreate canon events. However, that's not the point of Supremacy. I've always seen Supremacy as it's meant to be a point in the middle of the war. It's not meant to full-on recreate canon events, because then that would just make it not canon. Because, as you said, it's kind of meant to act like it's canon. I know this sounds really weird and confusing, but it sounds a lot better in my head.
Also, if you're going to have battle points be a thing, don't make it so people can spam heroes, since people who save up battle points for one hero which has maxed out star cards can just save up the battle points all over again while using the hero, and if they die, their battle points will be replenished to buy another hero. And what's worse is that they will be the first in line to buy it again, and continuously keep the hero slot for themselves. And as a result, they will rack up a ridiculous kill streak.
Okay, first off, yeah, I would allow them to get a lot of kill streaks, but the thing is, usually, this happened for me at least, basically, I was able to be a hero, and then I died, and then he was open again, and I was able to be it again, and then I died, but I died right at the start. And there was a timer. So basically what my point is usually after you die twice with a hero in Supremacy, then it will be a timer to give someone else a chance to pick out that certain hero to play.
The game needs to make heroes available for the right amount of battle points, but there needs to be an unavailability period for those who have already used a hero.
There is. Usually you have to use it 2 times. It's usually about a 10-second timer until you can pick it again. However, for other people, there would not be that timer. That timer would not be for them as they have not been that hero 2 times in a row. Or just 2 separate heroes in general. Like usually after having, say you have like Obi-Wan Kenobi and then you use Anakin, then there will still be a timer.
Perhaps a timer or a kill requirement. This can be implemented in a number of different ways. This can also be helped by allowing more available heroes.
Okay, first off, saying that there should be a kill requirement or a timer is just asinine. That is just retarded. Like, what the fuck? A fucking timer or a limit to be a hero? What the why? Then that just, because that could be a waste of battle points. And then, because some people could wrap up really high kill streaks. And sometimes, as you'll mention later, they would actually be doing something for the team. And I'll get further into that later. Also, the thing about there being wider options amount of heroes, well, that's why for Supremacy they have different eras. There's like the Resistance era, like BB-8, Bray, Finn. There's the fucking Republic era with like Anakin, Obi-Wan, Chewbacca, and then there's another era with I believe 6 heroes on the light side and dark side. The Rebellion has the most options, and I believe the default is 3 in Rebellion. I'm most likely wrong. It's definitely 2 or 3, and in it is 2 at the start. However, as the game goes on, it eventually can get to 3 heroes at the max, and then it can get to 4. I know this because I've had several games lasting an hour to 2 hours.
And finally, dear God, the amount of useless ass clowns who use heroes and do but fucking all to help with the objective, instead opting to hide behind teammates and pick the bones of large-scale encounters and try to rack up a kill streak for themselves. Heroes are meant to be the game changers. They are meant to punch a hole in the defenses of the enemy so that the lighter infantry units can move in. They are not meant to be corner camping, kill spamming little shits that add nothing to the team's effort to win the objective. I seriously think heroes need to be put on timers, at least for certain portions of the game. Most notably for the second phase of Supremacy, where taking the sole objective is a must, and it becomes a claustrophobic corridor shooter with a wall of blaster fire that's nearly impenetrable.
Okay, I already talked about that timer thing is retarded. However, that thing about that guy who was like just not doing anything, okay, I believe that he should be allowed to do that. Granted, I don't like it. I hate it when people do that. However, you should be allowed to do that in the game. I mean, again, I fucking hate it when people do that. I get pissed off. But it doesn't matter because that's up to them on how they play the fucking game. What? Like, you don't have to like it, but saying that it's the game's fault for that shit is just retarded. And saying that there should be a timer, again, is stupid. Because what if someone is actually doing a lot of stuff for the team and actually helping get the objective and gets a high kill streak in the process? I don't know if you've seen a lot of those like videos where people get high kill streaks. It's normally in Galactic Assault. However, some of them are in Supremacy where they are doing a lot of shit.
Now let's move on to another issue. The population is spread too thin. Now admittedly I'm playing on Xbox, so the PC and PS4 crowds would have a much higher player base, and naturally this would make it far easier to find matches. But on Xbox, my biggest grievance is being unable to find matches for certain game modes. For example, the Ewok Hunt. I was only able to find 1 match, and that was an accident, as I chose the quick match option, which put me into any random match of any number of players. But even though I found the hunt mode, there wasn't even a full lobby. There was just the bare minimum. Not only that, but Starfighter Assault playlist is almost completely desolate, which really surprised me, since it was and is one of the best game modes Battlefront 2 EA has to offer. Now I can hardly find a match. And honestly, I hate when games don't have the population counters. It feels like a gigantic waste of time when I search for a game, and after minutes of searching, it puts me into the game and I find that the lobby is completely empty.
Okay, I do actually agree with this. Now, personally, this is not really a problem for me because I don't really care to play those older games. I mainly play HVV and Supremacy. However, first off, why the fuck would you want to play Ewok Hunt? Ewok Hunt fucking sucks. Okay, but for real though, yes, this is a problem as it is usually to do with the servers. However, the game is much more popular on PC. This is something that I do personally have an issue with Xbox. However, this usually is not an issue. Sometimes it is an issue on Xbox though, especially for Supremacy when it's, kind of like late at night, maybe somewhere around midnight and I'm trying to play with some of my friends. But yeah, it's normally not a problem, however, it can be on Xbox. This is like probably the best video that I've covered, mainly because of the fact that Anomaly Inc actually knows what the hell he's saying and what he's doing, unlike pretty much everyone else that I've covered. Granted, some of the people I've covered aren't retards, I just disagreed with them. However, some of them are fucking retards.
This can be really frustrating. So yes, population counters, please. And also perhaps funnel the game types. Make Heroes vs Villains a single game mode which has hero starfighters as well implemented into it. Find a way to funnel the population to make the games more consistently playable, if only on Xbox, since I'm sure Xbox's player base needs this the most due to a lack of players.
Okay, this is another awful idea. Having starfighters in HVV would be fucking stupid, even if it was just one game mode. Because how the fuck would lightsaber heroes be able to take out the goddamn starfighters? Because they wouldn't. And the chance of blaster heroes being able to take them out is also very slim chance, as you'd have to have pretty much pitch perfect aim. The only one that I can think of is Boba Fett. And it's like, how the fuck would you plan on them being able to take them out? Because then that would just be really fucking stupid.
Now let's move on to my last big grievance with the game. Useless vehicles. Speeder vehicles suck. They are the epitome of useless, but not only are they janky as hell to control if your internet isn't perfect, but their guns, my god, they're useless, stupid guns. Not only is the damage pathetic, but DICE in their grand spectrum of stupidity decided to make it impossible for speeder vehicles to tilt their guns up. I'd imagine this is a pretty fucking common complaint. Why are these speeders instantly pointing at the fucking ground? There is literally no reason to use them. It's a joke. You can't aim, and a clone commando with a grenade launcher can kill you much more easily than you can kill them. These vehicles are pointless. They can be easily tweaked to not be pointless, which begs the question of why the fuck hasn't DICE done this? It's extremely frustrating and it honestly blows my mind.
I agree with literally everything that you said here. Speeder vehicles are fucking awful. And usually, I will say, when your internet is really good, then they're fine. However, my internet is not, so they just pretty much always look like they're jerking the fuck off.
Right. Now, for the final act of this video, I want to discuss something important, which is why, despite my praise for the game, and how far Battlefront 2 EA has come, despite its amazing progress, this game was always doomed to fall short of the original Star Wars Battlefront 2. Feel free to disagree with me, but let me explain my position. The reason why OG Battlefront 2 will always be better than the modern version released by EA. Truthfully, it's in the fundamentals of its design. Don't get me wrong, I'm not an OG Battlefront purist who doesn't want change. I absolutely welcome it. I'm all for a progression system, new weapons, attachments, and equipment to unlock, as well as customization skins. However, where EA Battlefront falls short at the fundamental level is, regrettably, the star card system. Completely fucking the balance of the game and its gameplay, giving people damage boosts, health boosts, extra vehicle health, stronger abilities, and even though this is possible for the most part in large-scale warfare since you come across more common players as opposed to those who have maxed out their star cards. But in heroes versus villains, the balance issues become very apparent very quickly when your opponents have their characters jacked up on steroids.
I think he's talking about me with Dooku. Oh, by the way, for those wondering why I haven't really been saying anything and I'm not defending the point yet, it's because of the fact that I want him to finish what he's saying. That way I can apply with the full context.
Anakin's Force Pull ability is probably the most ridiculously overpowered ability when maxed out because it can rip you from halfway across the fucking map.
Okay, this is obviously an exaggeration, but I don't... First, Anakin's fucking Force Pull is not the most OP thing in the game. I would argue that's actually two of Count Dooku's abilities, both of which can increase his damage by a fucking lot. And Anakin also has a more OP ability, I would say. His Retribution, which can utterly fuck anyone around him, especially useful in Supremacy. And he also has his, that Passionate Strike, which can go straight through blocks. Okay, I call these balanced. I call these overpowered. I mean, when they're not really that overpowered, they're completely justified. I'm just saying these abilities are more powerful than than the Force Pull at a huge range. However, yeah, these abilities are definitely more useful, I would say, than Anakin's full Force Push at a max star card. More so than, I would argue that Anakin's Passionate Strike is more useful.
The OG Battlefront had an elegant simplicity to it, with room to expand upon without directly screwing up the balance with cheap bullshit. Now, while you can't pay to win or unlock star cards of any tier randomly anymore through loot boxes, the damage was kinda done. And in addition to that, veterans of the game who know how to play it extremely well don't need an extra damage buff or health boost on top of their skill gap. This is going to make new and returning players extremely frustrated and discourage them from playing the game.
Alright, so when I saw this video, I wanted to see this real quick. So what I did was, I basically took two heroes that I had never really used. Luke Skywalker and Iden Versio. Yeah, I never really used either of these two heroes. I'm not exactly one who switches up heroes quite a bit. So I would use Luke Skywalker and Iden Versio. And both these heroes I was able to get good with in just about a week or so. Well, Luke Skywalker I have been using for about a month now, and I can already say it's pretty good. And Iden Versio I started using when I saw this video, and it made me realize, is it the fact that I've been using them for a while, or is it just the fact that the heroes are easy to use? And I was able to get to level 15 with Iden in pretty much a week. I think it's actually quite impressive. And I don't even have any star cards for her. I have not purchased any star cards for Iden Versio yet, not even at level 15. So it shows that the star cards, they don't exactly affect everything, even though they are really useful.
Whether it be for the first time or for the first time in a long time. The star cards fundamentally crippled the game in EA's Battlefront, whereas in OG Battlefront it was an equal playing field for the most part, with varying stats depending on the kind of unit you would choose for the battlefield. Like I said, this elegant simplicity has room to be expanded upon. EA's Battlefront has this elegant simplicity to it, but with the addition of the star cards, that messes up this aspect of the game. Heroes vs. Villains used to feel like a game of Star Wars Super Smash Bros. Choosing your favorite hero and jumping into battle was just a blast of back and forth action. The combat might have been a bit blander without all of the extravagant abilities, but far more accessible and enjoyable because it didn't contain the stat-altering bullshit of the star cards. My first Heroes vs. Villain match on Star Wars Battlefront 2 EA almost made me quit the
Okay, I'm sorry to cut it in the middle of a goddamn sentence. You fucking blamed the design of the map for getting pushed off the fucking map. Okay, what the fuck? Again, each hero has different playstyles for each different map. For example, moves like fucking not maps like Kashyyyk, Bespin, and like the Star Destroyers and stuff. Those will be useful for heroes like Luke and Anakin and Dooku, because Dooku can knock people off, or Vader with the Force Choke. So you're gonna have to learn how to use different heroes for different maps.
Game outright because of going up against a team of 4 with all maxed out star cards and Princess fucking Leia, who seriously needs a nerf, by the way.
Okay, why did you go straight into fucking Leia without blocking or anything? I hate to use this clip, but you basically just ended up with yourself getting killed. What you could have done in that situation, I'll go with the second situation that you showed, mainly because like both of them kind of apply the same thing. What you could have done is you could have actually blocked and then had the cursor point aim at Leia. That way it would deal damage to her. Then when her gun overheats, you could do the weakness ability on her. And then what you could do is you could press B to get closer, and then you could literally just fuck her up. Because you could hit her in, at most, 3 fucking hits. You could kill her in at most 3 hits. Because usually Saber heroes, they block, however Blaster heroes cannot block. And also something you should know is that blaster that Leia was using, that's one of her like abilities. And that blaster is mainly meant for close combat, because it's basically spraying. Her pistol is meant for, I would say, more long range. So Leia's someone that you don't want to get too close to if she has her Stormtrooper blaster out.
Hey? Thankfully, I stuck it out and found Heroes vs. Villains to be even more enjoyable than I remember when I last played Battlefront 2 EA, with only the occasional match being unplayable due to balance. The game mode still works very well, but has the potential to be broken, and it's all because of the star cards. It's because this system is so integral to the progression of the game that DICE couldn't remove it. Not to mention, since people had already bought some of these cards with the deluxe editions of the game, if they suddenly remove them, I imagine that DICE and EA would be facing some kind of lawsuit by reneging on pre-order content if they made the star cards unavailable after launch, which is why, regrettably, the game will always suffer from them. We can only hope this doesn't reoccur with Battlefront 3.
I think complaining about the star card system is the fact that you haven't played the game in over 2 years. If you kept with the game, then I'm pretty sure, sorry, I just burped, that you wouldn't have minded the star cards. And I do understand that it would be annoying for some players. However, for me, it's not an issue because, again, I used a hero that I had pretty much never used before, and I was able to get at a decent level in a week. Also, I think that the star cards is a good thing for progression, as it kind of rewards the player for playing and it gives you a sense of pride and accomplishment. Oh god.
Finally, and this is the second fundamental reason why OG Battlefront 2 still exceeds its modern version, and that's the lack of custom game options for Star Wars Battlefront 2017. Now this, unlike the star cards, is actually fixable. Battlefront 2 EA does have instant access, and you can still have your own bot matches on any map of your choosing, which is good. And you can even have your own Supremacy matches, which honestly surprised me. However, Supremacy is the only specific game mode you can choose for custom options. The other options it gives you is either an attack or defense game type. You can still adjust how the games will be played, how large the enemy teams are, and how long the rounds will be, etc. And while the experience is customizable, it lacks the available game variants from the instant action mode in OG Battlefront 2. And more regrettably, you can't play on a host connection with your friend in a custom lobby, let alone dedicated servers.
I agree that this could be pretty cool. However, if we're talking about supremacy, there is something that is kind of like supremacy where you can get with like 4 friends. It's not exactly custom matchmaking, but it is kind of something. It's basically co-op mode, which it's basically where you play with 4 friends. With it's you and 3 other friends, and then you can basically go in and you have to either capture command post or defend command post. It's not exactly like supremacy, but it kind of has some of the same stuff and it has the same era deal. However, I do actually wish that we got custom matchmaking, and I think that actually would be really nice to get in Battlefront 2.
For custom games, granted, good luck getting 40 players together for a full lobby of Galactic Assault and Supremacy, but this is just a bit depressing because I'd love to play so many of these game modes with friends that I can scarcely play now with the population spread so thin, with the game the way it is now. And as time progresses, it's only going to get worse. A lack of custom lobbies is going to render the game unplayable one day. You could argue that this game may become redundant once Battlefront 3 comes out, but Battlefront 2015 is in the same boat of multiplayer being strictly online matchmaking, meaning you can't find matches anymore and the game is pretty much dead. When Battlefront 2 EA came out, I honestly preferred the gameplay of Battlefront 2015 at first because it didn't have the star card system. And even though I wanted to go back and play it, I couldn't because the multiplayer lobbies were long gone. And we couldn't play custom games. Star Wars Battlefront 2 EA needs a custom lobby as much as any other first-person shooter. It honestly baffles me why there isn't. It wouldn't only help extend the game's lifespan, but it would serve the community immensely and enable people to play every game mode they desired with their buddies.
I actually do really want some custom matchmaking. I think that'd actually be really cool to get some custom lobbies. That way you could play with some of your friends. I do think that it would definitely help keep the game alive for a little longer, as because eventually the multiplayer servers will die, and for a lot of games now, a lot of the multiplayer servers are dead, which I think is pretty unfortunate, because like the old Battlefront. Well, the first one, the first EA Battlefront, it's pretty much dead now. It was kind of popular for a bit when, like, Scarif was not a thing in Battlefront 2. However, now Scarif is a thing that a lot of people deem that old Battlefront to be pretty much useless. Because, while yes, it has stuff like Orson Krennic and Jenner, so this new one has Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, it has General Grievous, Count Dooku, it has a lot of other shit. And it's from the sequel trilogy as well. So, the old one is pretty much dead, and this one will probably die if it doesn't have custom lobbies. And I think that it's also a pretty interesting point that I've never really heard before.
Which they could also customize to their leisure. If they implemented this, custom games shouldn't contribute to progression, so there is still plenty of incentive to play standard matchmaking, but sometimes you just want to enjoy some Star Wars with your buddies. Sit down, chill out, and have a good time. And if Battlefront 2 is to stand the test of time, it needs to have these lobbies implemented at some point, and I hope to see it one day.
Because as you said, they stopped development on the game, which I think is very unfortunate. And I did actually make a video talking about why I don't like that final update. And yeah, that's kind of all I have to say for the video. I'd not really include him saying much positive, mainly because this was a response to some of his criticisms. So yeah, and overall, I would say that this was overall a really good video that he made. As I would say, he made like, let's say he made like 6. He had 6 criticisms. I'd say 3 of them were valid and 3 of them were invalid. So yeah, overall, it's a good video because most of the ones that I cover are just utter shit fest. So overall, I would like to buy Anomaly Inc. a beer, even though I'm underage.